Congratulations. You've just been sold for 3 guineas to a man who smells like coal smoke and regret. The good news: you have a new job and a place to live. The bad news: your new job is climbing up the inside of chimneys, and your new home is a soot-stained corner of his basement. Welcome to London, 1860. Your life expectancy is 12. Let's begin before we descend into this particularly narrow and carcinogenic circle of hell together. Maybe hit subscribe if you enjoy falling asleep to the suffering of those who came before us. Drop a comment with where you are and what time it is. It's endlessly fascinating to see who's awake at 3 in the morning, contemplating the occupational hazards of Victorian children. Now dim your lights. Perhaps find a comfortable position that doesn't involve being wedged in a brick flue. And let's ease into tonight's journey. Fair warning: by minute 5, you'll be grateful for clean air. By minute 10, you'll want to hug your vacuum cleaner. And by minute 20, you'll understand that the good old days were mostly just old and bad. But we'll get there gently, very gently. Your eyes open. It's dark. Not just room is dark. This is a profound, absolute darkness that feels like a physical substance. The smell hits you first, a combination of old soot, damp stone, and the faint, sweet, sickly scent of something burning that you hope isn't you. You're lying on what was generously described as a bed, but is, in fact, a sack filled with straw. And what you can only assume are the ghosts of former chimney sweeps. Your blanket has the texture of sandpaper and the warmth of a judgmental stare. You try to stretch. Mistake. Your body, which is all of 7 years old, already feels ancient. Your joints click like tiny, sad castanets. Your knees are permanently scraped raw. Your elbows are a tapestry of bruises. And your lungs have begun a lifelong project of trying to turn soot into solid matter. You share this basement cellar with 4 other boys, all of you arranged like sad, discarded puppets. You don't live with them. You cohabitate with small, coughing shadows who share your profession and your bleak, predictable future. A rough hand shakes you awake. It's your master. Let's call him Master Grimshaw. Master Grimshaw believes that sleep is a luxury and that children are a renewable resource. He doesn't have an alarm clock. He has a boot, which he applies liberally to the ribs of any boy who isn't instantly vertical. He hands you breakfast. And by breakfast, I mean a single piece of hard, stale bread that could be used to sand furniture. This isn't a meal. It's an insult to the concept of food. But you eat it because these 300 calories are all you'll get until evening. Congratulations. You've survived the night. Your reward, a 14-hour workday inside a series of vertical brick tombs. Your work uniform is simple. You don't have one. You climb in whatever rags you were sold in. The lack of clothing is a feature, not a bug. Clothes would get stuck. Your bare skin, however, slides against the brickwork with only a minimum of tearing. Your primary tool is a large, stiff brush for the wider sections of the flue. Your secondary and more important tool is your own body. You are a human brush, a sentient pipe cleaner. Your small, flexible frame is the only technology capable of navigating the narrow, twisting chimneys of Victorian London. You are considered significantly more replaceable than your brush. Master Grimshaw leads you out into the pre-dawn gloom. The streets of London are a chaotic symphony of horse-drawn carts, shouting vendors, and air so thick with coal smoke you could chew it. For you, this isn't pollution. It's just air. You don't know any different. He points to your first job of the day. A 4-story townhouse belonging to a wealthy family who are currently asleep in warm beds, blissfully unaware that a 7-year-old is about to enter their home through a passage designed for smoke. Your instructions are simple. You are to enter the fireplace, brace your scraped knees and elbows against the sides of the chimney, and climb. You must call out every few feet so the master, listening from below, knows you haven't gotten stuck or passed out from the fumes. He gives you a small cap to cover your hair, not to protect you, but to keep soot from falling into the fireplace and dirtying the client's expensive rug. Priorities. You take a deep breath, which is always a mistake, and enter the fireplace. The darkness is immediate. The space is impossibly tight. This is your world now. A vertical tunnel of soot, brick, and carcinogens. You begin to climb. Your knees and elbows scream in protest, but you ignore them. You've learned to ignore your body's complaints. Your body is just a tool, and tools don't get a vote. The soot gets in your eyes, your mouth, your nose. It coats your tongue with a bitter, gritty film. You try not to breathe too deeply, but you have to breathe. So you inhale your workplace, little by little. With every upward movement, you call out, your voice a small, muffled cry in the darkness. All's well, you shout, which is the most profound lie you will tell all day. Nothing is well. You are 7 years old, trapped in a brick tube, slowly suffocating for a few shillings, but the master hears you, and that's all that matters. As you near the top, the chimney narrows. This is the dangerous part. You have to contort your small body, squeezing through a space that feels like it's actively trying to crush you. This is where boys get stuck. You've heard the stories. Boys who panicked, who couldn't move up or down. Boys who were left for hours. Boys who didn't make it out. You push the thought away. You have to. You keep climbing. Finally, you see it. A small circle of gray, smoggy light. The top. Congratulations. You've reached the summit. Your reward is a lungful of toxic air and a brief, dizzying view of a city that will never belong to you. You push your brush through the top of the chimney, dislodging the last of the creosote and bird nests. The job is done. Now you just have to get down, which is somehow harder than getting up. You slide down, trying to control your descent, scraping your back and legs on the rough brick. You emerge back into the fireplace, a small, soot-blackened creature, barely recognizable as human. You've been gone for 20 minutes. You have 10 more chimneys to clean before the day is over. Let's talk about the economics of your situation. You are an apprentice. This sounds like a respectable position, a way to learn a trade. In reality, you are indentured property. Master Grimshaw paid your impoverished family a fee. In return, he gets your unpaid labor until you turn 21. He is legally required to provide you with food, lodging, and one set of clothes per year. The law is vague on the quality of this food, the habitability of this lodging, and whether the clothes need to be free of holes. Master Grimshaw interprets these ambiguities in his favor. Your diet is a masterclass in minimalist nutrition, the stale bread in the morning. For dinner, you might get a bowl of thin, watery soup, sometimes with a potato in it if the master is feeling generous. Meat is a rumor, a legend whispered among the older boys. They say they ate it once, back in 1858. You get just enough calories to keep you working, but not enough to grow properly. Most sweeps are small for their age, their growth stunted by malnutrition and the constant physical stress. This is perversely good for business. A smaller boy can fit into narrower chimneys. Your starvation is a feature of your employment. Your home, the cellar, is a health hazard. It's damp, cold, and poorly ventilated. You sleep on the floor, the soot you bring home on your body, and in your lungs mixes with the damp air, creating a permanent, toxic environment. The boys cough constantly, a dry, hacking cough that everyone calls the soot cough. It's the sound of your lungs slowly giving up. Tuberculosis is common. Pneumonia is a constant threat. Your life is a race to see what kills you first. An accident in a chimney, a respiratory disease, or simple starvation. But surely there are good days, right? Days off, holidays. No, the only day you don't work is Sunday, and you spend most of it sleeping, trying to recover enough to survive Monday. Christmas is a work day. Wealthy families want their chimneys clean for the holiday festivities. You spend Christmas morning inside their fireplaces, listening to them sing carols in the next room, smelling their roasting goose, a meal you can't even imagine eating. Your Christmas bonus is not being beaten for working too slowly. Let's discuss the specific dangers of your profession beyond the obvious horror of it all. most immediate danger is getting stuck. Chimneys in Victorian London weren't standardized. They twisted and turned in unpredictable ways. A flue might narrow suddenly. You could get wedged, unable to move up or down. Panic is your enemy. If you panic, your muscles tense and you become even more stuck. The master's solution to this problem is simple and brutal. If you're stuck, he will light a small fire in the fireplace below you. The heat and smoke, he reasons, will encourage you to find a way to free yourself. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it just suffocates the boy. Another method is to send another boy up after you to try and pull you free. This occasionally results in two boys being stuck instead of one. If all else fails, they have to break open the wall of the chimney to get you out. This is the last resort, as it's expensive for the homeowner. Your life is valued at less than the cost of repairing a brick wall. Then there's fire. You are often sent up chimneys that are still hot from a recent fire. The bricks can be scorching. Burns are a routine part of the job. You learn to move quickly, to not press your bare skin against the hottest parts of the flue. Sometimes, the soot inside the chimney itself can ignite while you're inside. This is called a chimney fire. You are now inside a vertical furnace. Your chances of survival are approximately 0. And then there's the long-term killer, the one that gets almost everyone who survives the accidents. It's a disease so specific to your trade that it was nicknamed chimney sweeps cancer. The constant exposure to soot, a known carcinogen, caused a particularly nasty form of skin cancer. It was painful, disfiguring, and in an age before modern oncology, a death sentence. You see the older boys, the ones in their late teens, developing the first signs. Sores that won't heal. You don't know what it is, but you know it's a bad omen. It's the final payment for a childhood spent in the dark. Congratulations. You've chosen a career with a built-in expiration date. Now, you might be thinking, this is horrific. Surely someone did something about this. And they did. People tried. For decades, reformers campaigned to ban the use of children as chimney sweeps. They pointed out the cruelty, the high death rate, the obvious moral bankruptcy of the practice. They even invented a machine, the mechanical brush, that could clean chimneys without a child. It was a series of canes and brushes that could be pushed up the flue. It worked. It was effective. So, why did the practice continue for so long? Because of money and tradition. The masters, the men like Grimshaw, argued that the machine couldn't clean the most difficult, twisting chimneys. They claimed that only a boy could do the job properly. This was a lie. The machine worked fine, but the machine cost money to buy and maintain. Boys were cheaper. A boy could be bought for a few guineas and worked until he died, at which point you could simply buy another one. Homeowners also resisted. They complained that the machine was messy, that it might damage their chimneys. They were used to having a boy do the job. So, for decades, the law failed. Bills were proposed in Parliament and defeated. The suffering continued because it was profitable and convenient for the people in power. Let's take a moment and imagine a single day through your eyes. You wake up at 4 a.m. You eat your sad bread. You clean 10 to 12 chimneys, each one a claustrophobic nightmare. In one, you get momentarily stuck and have to fight a wave of pure terror. In another, you cut your knee on a sharp piece of brick. The cut immediately fills with soot. You don't have time to clean it. You just keep working. At midday, you get a 10-minute break. You drink some water from a public pump, which is probably contaminated with cholera, but you're too thirsty to care. You have no lunch. You keep working. In the afternoon, you start to feel dizzy. The fumes, the lack of food, the exhaustion. You almost lose your grip inside a wide, slippery flue. You catch yourself just in time. The thought of falling, of breaking a bone, is terrifying. A broken bone means you can't work. If you can't work, you're useless to the master. A useless boy is a liability. You've seen what happens to boys who get too sick or injured to climb. They're turned out onto the street to beg, or sent to the workhouse, which is just a slower, more bureaucratic way to die. So you hold on. You keep climbing. Evening comes. You stumble back to the cellar, every muscle aching. Your body is a symphony of pain. You're given your dinner, more bread, maybe some thin soup. You eat it in silence. The boys are too tired to talk. You can hear the city outside, the sounds of people going to pubs, to theaters, to their warm homes, a world you'll never be part of. You crawl onto your sack of straw. You don't wash. There are no facilities for washing. The soot becomes a second skin. You fall into a heavy, dreamless sleep, your body trying desperately to repair itself before the master's boot wakes you up in a few short hours to do it all again. This isn't a bad day. This is every day. But what about your humanity, your spirit? Does that survive? For some, it doesn't. You see boys who become quiet, withdrawn, their eyes empty. They're just bodies going through the motions. They've been broken by the routine, the cruelty, the hopelessness. They don't last long. Others find ways to survive. Small rebellions. A shared joke whispered in the cellar when the master is gone. A piece of bread saved and given to a younger, hungrier boy. A song hummed quietly inside a chimney. A sound that's just for you. These are the tiny acts of defiance that keep you human. You learn the geography of the city through its rooftops. You see the grand houses of the rich, the crowded tenements of the poor. You see the difference between the smoke from a factory and the smoke from a bakery. You become an expert in a secret, vertical world that no one else sees. There's a strange, lonely pride in it. You are a climbing boy. You do a job that no one else can or will do. It's a terrible identity, but it's the only one you have. Let's talk about the end of this story. For you, the individual sweep, the end is likely grim. You might die in an accident. You might succumb to disease. If you're one of the lucky few who survives to adulthood, you're too big to climb anymore. Your body is broken. Your lungs are ruined, and you have no other skills. You might become a master yourself, perpetuating the cycle of abuse, because it's the only way you know how to survive. Or you might end up as a laborer, your life cut short by the damage already done to your body. But for the practice itself, the end did come. After decades of campaigning by reformers like Lord Shaftesbury, public opinion finally shifted. A series of tragic, high-profile deaths of young sweeps caught the nation's attention. Finally, in 1875, an Act of Parliament was passed that required all chimney sweeps to be licensed, and the police were given the power to enforce the ban on using children. It took more than 70 years of fighting, but the age of the climbing boys was finally over. Take a moment. Look around your room. You are probably warm. You are probably clean. The air you're breathing is not actively trying to kill you. You have rights. You have protections. A child's life is considered precious, something to be nurtured and protected. These things feel normal to us. They are not normal. They are the hard-won result of centuries of struggle. They were built on the suffering of children like the one in our story. The comfort you feel right now is their legacy. The safety you take for granted was a fantasy they couldn't even imagine. Your fictional chimney sweep, let's call him Pip, would look at your life and think he'd entered heaven. A bed with a soft mattress, a room with a window that opens, hot water coming out of a tap, more food in your refrigerator than he would see in a year, the ability to go to school, to play, to read a book, the simple, miraculous fact that you are not owned by anyone. He didn't endure so that you would feel guilty. He endured so that eventually, someday, a child wouldn't have to. And he succeeded. You are the proof of his success. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, in your warm, safe bed, maybe spare a thought for Pip, for the thousands of real children whose names we'll never know, who spent their short, brutal lives in the darkness. They weren't just characters in a sad story. They were real people. They had hopes, fears, and a resilience that is almost impossible to comprehend. They fought for every breath. They found ways to be human in the most dehumanizing of circumstances. Their story is not boring history. It's a reminder of how recently our world was a place of casual cruelty. A reminder of how far we've come. And a reminder that the comforts we enjoy are not guaranteed. They were fought for. They must be protected. The fire is dying down now. The story is ending. Your eyes are heavy. The soot-stained world of Victorian London is fading away. Everyone in this story has been dead for more than a century. But their story matters. It matters because it reminds us that progress is not inevitable. It is chosen. It is fought for. And it is built on the memory of those who suffered before us. And with that thought, you can drift off to sleep, grateful for labor laws, grateful for modern medicine, grateful for the simple, profound luxury of a childhood free from forced labor. Good night. Sleep peacefully. You've earned it. You didn't have to climb a single chimney. You just had to listen to a story about it. And that is so much easier. Be grateful for easy. Sleep, dream, wake up free. The end.